yo, Halito, what up, cuz?
Hey, what's going on with you?
Playback. Let me see.
Peace
Like
to
that.
everybody. Peace to everybody that's joining us this Sunday. Thank y'all for answering the smoke call. You know what I'm saying? Peace to those that's in the chat. Peace to those who will be coming on. And peace to those who will be looking at the broadcast after it airs live.
Yes, peace to you. Wado, your Koki, Sean, Bitch, Cheetah, everybody. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Hey, why that drawing up there look like you?
Yeah, I kind of favor her, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, that's my great cousin, 12 times.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I wanted to show a flip side of things for everybody tuning in to honor a woman chief, so which is my ancestor. So I wanted to present that to everybody today, just showing honor and respect to the matriarchs out there, the warrior women. Yes. So I'm gonna get started. I was gonna let some people come on in. I see a couple of people in the chat. Peace,
Let them come
cousin.
on in. Come on in.
Peace, cousin.
HERSTORY. What's going on with you?
Yeah, so I did want to that the flyer that has me in a headdress that was in honor of my great cousin. Y'all see how she has a headdress on and it's just straight up. And I had handmade mine. And a Cherokee elder had gave me hawk feathers. So I got some little ones in it, and I just wanted to show y'all. I handmade this shit. This wasn't off of no Etsy, no Amazon, no none of that shit.
No team move.
Right. None of that shit. So and I need to refurbish it because
No Taiwan, no China.
none of that. And I got some hawk feathers. I don't know if y'all can really see it, but I
Yeah,
got
we
it on
see it.
in the flyers. So yeah, so we'll get started and they can rewind. But all right, here we go. All right. My great cousin 12 times, Wera that's female chief, Cockacoeske, Powhatan. She was deemed Queen of Pamunkey by the English colonizers. You know, they always call somebody king and queen to equate it so that they can understand that this person is in leadership. So
Right.
they call her Queen of the Pamunkey. She was a descendant of Nectawants, which is her father, and War Chief Werawant's Ope Chinkana. Ope Chinkana is my what is it, 12 times great grandfather. So I found this out years ago doing my genealogy. I used FamilySearch.org. And it's actually through my paternal side, but it's still my blood. It's still in my DNA. So
Right.
we have the same great grandfather. All right. So we're gonna go to the next slide. All right. Her timeline. She was born 1634. She lived until 1686. Back then, they went by bloodline oral tradition. Today we're doing, genealogy, everybody's researching, where they came from, their ancestors. Um, Now, this is a brief overview, but I'm gonna go into a little detail. But in 1656, she became Warawansqua woman chief Cockacoeske, Powhatan, and during her 30 years of reigning, she had to deal with Bacon's rebellion, and she signed the Treaty of Middle Plantation. Uh, when she did that, she was trying to basically, the colonizers was encroaching. They had lost a lot of men, so it's like, if you gonna sign a treaty with them, she put some stipulations in the treaty, uh, which was Article 12, and she said that all women and men chiefs have equal power, and none have more than the other, except for her, because she was a descendant of Chief Powhatan. Her great grandfather, which is my grandfather, was the war chief, and before him was his big brother, the one that y'all know about, Pocahontas Society, which her name is Matoaka. So she wanted to still actually bring everybody under that same umbrella of the. How is that a echo?
Mm-hmm.
Under the Powhatan chiefdom. She wanted to revive, the Powhatan legacy. And so she had meetings and talked with the other tribes because they were scattering. And so she had a meeting with them and convinced them to sign the treaty. And some of them, they wasn't fucking with it. Because in Article 18, it does say that since they're making a treaty with these English colonizers, that they are going to be in some of the tribal affairs, which a lot of treaties basically say that the colonizers are going to be involved in tribal affairs in some kind of way. They didn't like that, but I felt that she did the best that she could with what she had. For a second, I was mad at her. I was like, "Damn!" But um, her husband was chief, and then he got killed. Um, and then she became woman chief, not only because of her husband passing away, but because of her bloodline. She was the granddaughter of the war chief, which is Opechancanough. All right, so I just broke this down. World One Squad, Cockacoeske, Powhatan, Queen of Pamunkey. She was born in 1634 to her father, World Once, Nectar Once, Powhatan, and her mother, Opechancanough Powhatan. Her paternal grandfather was the great war chief, World Once, Opechancanough Powhatan, and her grandmother, Cleopatra Powhatan. Now, my ancestor, Elizabeth Powhatan, Cleopatra, and Opechancanough are her parents. Um, as I've done research, it said that they had um, three other children besides the ones that were listed. And my ancestor, she married a white man, and his name was Massey. So that's how I'm connected to her. They had a son. It was named after the father. I just broke down that she signed this treaty, and that was in 1677. All right. And the colonizers, they came with shiny things to trade with. So they gave her this shiny pendant for her being a diplomat. She negotiated and got her other neighbors that were a part of the true Powhatan chiefdom. She got them to, sign the treaty, and it was to promote peace, right? So yeah, she ruled for 30 years, but they gave her this little pendant, and they have a museum, a Pamunkey museum, and they have it in that museum. So here is the Treaty of Middle Plantation. All right. Now, I did kind of break down that after the wars, and they had 3 major wars. I'm gonna pull that up, but after those wars, a lot of the Powhatan chiefdom that was so great in the beginning, they started to scatter. And so she wanted to bring them together, basically, under, her rulership. Now, I imagine, and I've done a video on this before, that they weren't really, some of them probably wasn't feeling a female chief. So some of them elected not to participate, some of the tribes, but a couple of them did. And they didn't really want to be under her subjection. Like I said, she wanted things to go back to the way that they were when her great grandfather was reigning. She wanted to restore that. She wanted to restore order. I was like, they talk about, her diplomacy and how she was. And I was like, I bet you she a Libra. But they just have the year that she was born. They don't have the actual day. But I'd be willing to bet she was a Libra. She was a diplomat. And I was gonna go over. Okay, so the first Powhatan War was from 1610 to 1614. And then the second Powhatan War was 1622 to 1626. And then the third one was 1644 to 1646. Then you have Bacon's Rebellion. Now, the Bacon Rebellion, this asshole, he wanted to come and conquer the land. And so basically they had her in hiding. And he kidnapped like her one of her helpers. I forgot the title that they give her. They kidnapped her, and they was trying to get her to tell where she was at, because of course they want to kill the leader. So anyway, she didn't lead them to where Cockacoeske was. She actually led them astray, and they killed her. That was her helper or whatever. I forgot the title that they used, but they was really trying to get her, but she survived, and she tried to reign in peace. They wanted more of her men. Like every time they was trying to fight hostile Indians, they fought the Westo Indians too. The English wanted, more warriors. And she got pissed off in a meeting that they had. And she was, first she was all diplomatic and shit. And then she like hit her hand on the table, and she was like, she lost her husband, and she's lost men that they need to make right on the treaty, the English. Basically she actually got in their ass about them not holding up their end of shit. And she was like, you want me to send more men, but a lot of our men have died. My husband died, and you want more men? I've done like a little research, and I've watched videos and little reenactments of it. But she was pissed off, like, y'all need to, handle y'all end of this peace treaty type thing. So
Yeah, because the West though was helping the British to enslave the tribes in the South. Most people don't know about
yeah, the West was up there trying to cause havoc, and yeah, so yep. And what else was I gonna say? Okay. All right, I went over this with y'all. And then this was just me. This was the flyer, one of the flyers that I had. It was just me showing honor and respect to my great cousin. She did the best she could with what she had, and I salute her. And I said, may Ahone approve. That is great spirit in the Powhatan language. So I did want to show some of the other. Let's get into a little bit of this. Okay. Okay, so this was like a book where they talked about the Indian kings and queens, and my cousin was mentioned in this book because she was the first to sign a treaty, and she got some of the other tribes under the Powhatan chiefdom to sign the treaty too. So they mention her in this book. The Articles of Peace between the most serene and mighty Prince Charles II, by the grace of God, blah, 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 and several Indian kings and queens. This was concluded, the 29th day of May, 1677. So they let me look at the pages separately. But let me see. I'm just gonna show y'all these pages, and the ones that pop out to me, I'll read some of them. But of course, we know that when they say peace, they really want peace as long as they are in control. So that's the messed up part about it. But this is just showing some of the articles. Let me see if they have Article 12, because that's the article that she put in there, that all of the chiefs, the male and the women chiefs, are equal. They have equal power, and they have the right to have leadership over their tribe. But she will be the head over the whole chiefdom. Does anybody in the chat, have y'all ever heard of Warawansqua, Cockacoeske, Powhatan? My great cousin. Has anybody heard of her? Anybody in the chat? No, they quiet. And some people will probably, and you know what? It is Easter Sunday, so the SUN has risen.
It is?
Yeah. So they having they probably having uh a program. I think it is today. Let me pull it
Wait,
up.
I thought the day was supposed to be Palm Sunday.
Well, okay. Well, maybe that's what it is. Palm Sunday. Okay. So they
Peace,
having
rest,
a lot
peace.
of they having a lot of programs today. They have them this weekend and next weekend. So
Yeah,
some people,
it's Palm Sunday.
yeah. So
Next
they'll
Sunday is
tune
Easter.
in later. Okay. All right. Yeah, they'll tune in later. But this is just an overview of the treaty. And I was trying to find Article 12. Now, this one is interesting. Okay. All right. All right. This is interesting. It said that no person whatsoever shall entertain or keep any neighboring Indian as servant, or otherwise. That's interesting. Yeah, and down here it talks about that no English harbor or entertain any vagrant or runaway Indian, but convey him home by the way of PA. I don't know if that's a FS. From justice to us, justice to his own town. So basically, if they caught a runaway Indian, they had to take the runaway Indian to their own town. Um, and if anybody else was harboring them, it would be a penalty, a paying of a penalty, as by the law for entertaining of runaways is recoverable. So basically, they had to return them to their
So,
tribal nation, so
yeah.
their tribal nation can deal with them. But let me see. This was page 12, but
Did she have anything to do with the treaty with Queen Anne of England?
well, they call her Queen Anne, and they call her Queen Anne likened to the Queen Anne. And then they were saying that that's her daughter, that Queen Anne is her daughter. So some stories they link them together. And I do have this book that the blood stay pure. It talks about Queen Anne. Now she did have a daughter, um, and she had a son that signed the treaty with her, but her niece succeeded her. They Betty and Anne. So yeah, let me get to 12. Okay, right here. All right, so this is saying that, okay, look at this one. It said that every Indian is fit to bear arms. Um, it says, of the neighboring nations in peace with us, have such a quantity of powder and shot allotted him, as the right honorable, how they speak is kind of jacked up. Right honorable, the governor shall think sufficient on any occasion, and that such members of them be ready to go out with our forces upon any march against the enemy, and to receive such pay for their good services. So basically, if if she sent warriors out, they will be paid for their good services. Um,
All
marching
right,
against
Chico
the enemy.
family, thank you for joining us. Hope
Yeah,
you're
what's
having
up,
a good time
Chico?
at the powwow.
Yeah, what's up, Chico? You just tuning in, Chico. We are going over the history of my great cousin, Wero Wansqua, Cockacoeske, Powhatan. She was the woman chief. So you can rewind and take a look. All right. So this is Article 12. Okay. Now, some of them was pissed off about Article 12 in this treaty. Um, I take it the men that didn't want to be under the rulership of a woman chief. But it says that each Indian king and queen have equal power. So she got them to write this in this treaty. So she said that each Indian king and queen, which is male chief, woman chief, have equal power to govern their own people, and none to have greater power than the other, except the queen of Pamunkey, because she was trying to bring everything back in order, like her grandfather did and his brother, Big Chief Powhatan, and then Opechenkana, her grandfather. She wanted to bring everything back, uh, basically to the glory days when the Powhatan chiefdom thrived. She was trying to get it back to that. So that's why she said, except um, the Queen of Pamunkey, talking about herself. Uh, several scattered nations do now own their ancient subjection. So, and are agreed to come. So she did, you know, use her diplomatic skills and got them to come. And they agreed to be under basically her ancient subjection, meaning because she is a bloodline descendant of the great war chief. Um, I assume that they looked at that and agreed to be under her for that reason, right? Um, and they also put in there, she wanted them to put this in there, and agreed to come in and plant themselves under her power and government. With her, who with her are also hereby included into this present league. So some of the tribes that agreed with it, they went ahead and signed. And I did make a note of the tribes that did agree and the ones that did not.
I think it was about 7 or 8 of them that agreed, right?
Yeah, it said 6.
About
Um,
6. I knew it
yeah,
had to be something for
and
me. Yeah.
then the other ones did not. I'm gonna pull it
hmm
up.
Yeah, I remember reading that some years ago.
Yeah, I was like, I tried to look over it to get reacclimated with it, because I did read up on it heavy when I first found out she was my great cousin. So I really was researching, went to the genealogy library and everything. Uh, let me see. I'm gonna just pull it up, but I know I got it. How y'all doing in the chat? Okay. Y'all give me just a second.
Wow, Chief said I have a couple of lines from her in my tree, right?
Ope
And
Chinkana, the Pamunkey historian.
William D. You'll say that they won't accept a lot of those lines into the Pamunkey. I wonder why.
Yeah, and I told you that because my ancestor is from the 1600s, there is a special application if you want to, enroll into the tribe. That one costs $500
Mm.
because my ancestor is from the 1600s. So, yeah. So, yeah, that is interesting. But the tribes that did sign the treaty with Cockacoeske, the ones that signed was the Nottoway, um, her son, who became a captain. His name was John West. Um, the Apomatu, the Wayona Oki, the Nazamon, the Patanokis of the Nazamons, and the Portabacos, the Monacans signed, uh, the Saponis signed, um, the Maharans signed. So it was some of the leaders from each of those tribes. They signed the treaty. She got them to sign. All right, the Treaty of Middle Plantation of 1677. I'm not sure where it is. I'm not sure. It might be in that room. Um, yeah, I'll get it later. All right, excuse me. All right, the Nazamon were one of the several tribes that signed the Treaty of Middle Plantation of 1677. It was of course, the Pamunkey, the Nottoway, the Wayanoki, the Appomattox, the Nanzatico, the Monacan, the Saponi, and the Maharan. They signed the treaty, and I did share some of this in the shorts that I did share. So she did get them to sign, and it was another highlight I wanted to focus on. Okay, yeah, with this with Nathaniel Bacon's rebellion. All right. All right. So while she was woman chief, all right. While she was woman chief, she had to deal with Bacon's rebellion. This was in August of 1676, and basically he went on a killing spree. Okay, so it talks about uh, Nathaniel Bacon brought his campaign to ruin and extirpate all Indians in general to the Green Dragon Swamp, and that's where she went. They protected her into hiding in the Green Dragon Swamp, what you would call like a bayou, on the upper Pamunkey River. While there, he attacked and massacred nearly 50 Pamunkey Indians who had been at peace with the government of Virginia for 30 years. Having once formed the backbone of the mighty Algonquin-speaking Powhatan chiefdom, the Pamunkeys now numbered fewer than 200 warriors and had lived in a state of dependence and subjection to the Virginia government. So this was like in her latter, close to her latter years. When I told y'all she was pissed off and she was like, her husband died, her warriors were dying, and they need to make good on their promises for them signing this treaty. And so then it talks about since the end of the Anglo-Powhatan Wars in 1646, from the time of her succession to the position, her accession to the position of Pamunkey Warawansqua chief in 1656, the Pamunkey leader Cockacoeske has spent 20 years of her life navigating the tangle of policies, proclamations, and customs and expectations that constituted Virginia's complex political and legal system to achieve her ends. Now, in the space of a few short weeks, an army made up of nearly 600 Western Virginians who had blamed her people for attacks of the Iroquois Indian groups. So they blamed her for the Iroquois groups that attacked Bacon and his men. Also, these groups from Maryland had nearly destroyed all of her progress. I don't know why it's not letting me read it all, but basically, this is the shit that some of the shit she had to deal with. These colonizers coming in here and killing off her men, and this was towards the end of her reign. But they didn't kill her. They did kill some they killed her helper, as I said earlier, and they killed some men, but they didn't kill her. They wanted to, of course, what they do is they try to kill the head so the rest will fall in line, type of thing. And
All right, you
this,
with the so-called Negro and cousin Shonda. Welcome.
yeah, peace, cousin
West
Wanda, and
West one. No, you say the lady speaking does genealogy, right?
I
They want
did
to know.
I did my genealogy.
Yeah, you gotta do that work on your own. You gotta do
Yeah,
that
you gotta,
genealogy. You gotta
yeah,
get in there. The money that you would spend for somebody to do your genealogy, you can do it yourself and get the satisfaction of finding your own family members.
exactly. Yeah,
And then you got some people that'll take your money and stuff, and you'll be like, "Well, hell, I could have did that." Well, that's what you should have did from the get go.
yeah, exactly. And I'll share one brief example. I had a young lady. She's part of a tribal nation. I won't say what tribal nation she's from, but um, it's in the Northeast, and she has a genealogy company. And I had to talk with her, and she told me what she does because I asked her, what do you do? Because I've already did A, B, C, and D, and she was like, you are already doing the stuff that I would do. And she said that her services would cost 500. And I asked her, I said, well, are you gonna go to the actual states and go um, to
To the archives.
to the archives in that state, and she was like, no, the person would have to do that. And I'm like, well, why would I pay when I can do that myself?
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to do your due diligence. I'm still doing some genealogy work. Like, she was like an easy ancestor for me to find. Some of the ones that are close to me, some of their records, I'm having trouble with some of theirs, especially the women, because they don't give their maiden name. They just took on the husband's name. So I am having trouble with some of those. But hers, on my father's side, as I climbed up the tree, she was easy to find. And my great grandfather, Opechenkana, the war chief of the Powhatan chiefdom, he was easy to find. It was just right there. But some of them, it's hard. So you just got to stick with it, West. And it'll start unfolding. That shit can be frustrating too, especially when you don't know the maiden names and you just going off of oral tradition. It's hard to locate the stuff. But
And then you be having people that wanna tie themselves to historical figures, but you might find an ancestor that probably wasn't a chief or probably
right,
was, a medicine person or a war chief, you know.
right, right. Just find your people.
Right,
That's the best that you can do is find your people.
right.
And like if there's a genealogy library near you, you should go and check it out. We got one that I go to. I really was going before, you know, what 2019 when that thing happened that we can't speak on. But
Or just
yeah,
call your local library and ask them when
yeah,
they're gonna have someone from a genealogy department to come and speak at the library, because they do that sometimes. Call your nearest library and be like, excuse me, I'd like to know, have y'all ever had a genealogist to ever come to the library and show people how to look up their genealogy? And if they say no, you'd be like, well, have y'all ever considered it? I mean, have you ever considered it before? And that might be something to push the initiative, because you have the state and them have genealogists that can actually come and speak to y'all at the libraries and show you what your do's and your don'ts.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they have a lot of presentations at the genealogy library here, where they do like little classes, and they have a plethora of information. You can look at
right,
the microfilm and everything. So, yeah,
yeah.
get on it.
Yeah, microfilm, newspapers, clippings,
Mhm,
all that.
mhm. But I did want to touch on a couple of key points. And I'm just looking through.
You
Um,
welcome.
yeah,
And they mostly do that kind of stuff on a Saturday too at the nearest library near you, you know. So just call the nearest library near you and ask them, hey, have you ever thought about doing a genealogy fair? You know? You'd be surprised. And sometimes they post it too on the website, like your local public library. They actually post it online.
yep, they sure do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this was one point that I wanted to get into was okay. So the Pamunkey, the Powhatan chiefdom, is in the Northeast, the Eastern Woodlands, and Virginia was affected. The Virginia tribal nations were affected by Walter Plecker. So this is just a reminder. Everybody that has researched, or if you have any ancestors or of the Virginia tribal nations, or the eastern woodlands, especially Virginia. Walter Plecker has done a lot of paper genocide, especially dealing with Virginia tribal nations. And they do mention this. This is the Library of Virginia. And it it's about him. Okay. Yeah, he was a state registrar of vital statistics. So this is how he was able to do a lot of paper genocide against the dark-skinned Indians of the Eastern Woodlands tribes. It says here he manipulated and distorted records to show that the genealogical heritage of Virginia Indians was so intermixed with Virginia African Americans that no real Indians existed. Now, this is a misnomer. In other records, um, they were called just Negroes, dark skinned Indians. So he said basically he was pissed off because these original Indians were dark, so he did a lot of paper genocide. So um he was questioning their racial purity and all of this bullshit. So he shows up in Virginia Indian history. Um yeah. But back to Cockacoeske, her father um her father was basically like after the war chief, my great grandfather had died. They actually killed him. After that, he was in leadership. And then after that, her husband was in leadership. And then when he died, she took the mantle because she had the bloodline. But it said that they called him the king of the Indians. Uh, so the English colonizers had gave him that title. Now some say uh, king of Pamunkey, and she was later called the queen of Pamunkey. And a lot of these writings, and I looked at some books. I mean, they basically say the same thing over and over again. Now, on another podcast at a later date, I'll go over some of the spiritual aspects of the Powhatan, the Pamunkey, and deal with their spiritual system and their creation story, etc. I'll go into that, but they were a very spiritual people, and they did a lot of things with the names, trying to conceal the names of the medicine people and some of the people in leadership. They tried to give them English names
Mm-hmm.
to conceal their identity. So it was a lot of interesting things going on back then. But the gist of this podcast was just to show some respect and honor to women chiefs. We do a lot of uh, history on the men chiefs. I just felt it was relevant to bring my great cousin on up in here and have her represent for the women chiefs and the warrior women. There are beloved women in all tribes. Some of them are not at the forefront, but they are at the forefront, like in the lodge meetings. They call them lodge meetings, or in ceremony. and things of that nature. The medicine women, they play a pivotal role too. And we can get into some of those at a later date. But does anybody have any questions or comments while I'm looking at some of the other key points I wanted to touch on? Anybody got any comments or questions in the chat? So no comments or questions. Wessa, thank you. Yeah, and this is a brief overview. Like I said, I will go in depth at a later date. But I was gonna pull a couple of key points up. The creation story of the Powhatan chiefdom is dealing with a Honi, which is their great spirit, which also takes on the form of a great hare, a rabbit, a hare. It is a Honi is the chief spirit creatures who comes from the rising sun with a magic bag. It reminds me of a mojo bag for all my misnomer Creole people out there. Who comes from the rising sun with a magic bag containing a woman and a man. Ahoni creates the world, including the mountains, the rivers, the forests, and places the first peoples, all right, along with the great deer into the newly formed world. So the deer is sacred. It's one of the sacred animal spirits that is mentioned. So you have a Honi, who is the primary creator. You have the medicine bag, which is, they say magic bag, but it's really the medicine bag, the medicine pouch. Or then you have the medicine bundle. That's a key element in the creation story. The medicine bag is the Great Spirit Ahoni's bag that contains humanity, basically the first woman and man. Creating of the world. Ahoni designs and fashions the lands, the rivers, the mountains, and the places where the large deer and the other animals would reside. In the creation story, the woman and the man is released from the medicine bag and placed into the world, living in harmony. Of course, there are some in just about every spiritual system, there's always good spirits and bad spirits. And we ain't really gonna focus on the bad spirits, but the Powhatan chiefdom had, of course, temples and medicine peoples who managed the relations of various spirits. Of course, the Europeans say shamans, but it's the medicine people, which is Cockacoeske, and I may be pronouncing that wrong. I gotta get brushed up on the language. Okay, I love you. Excuse me, yeah. I gotta get brushed up on the language. Love you. You still here? Oh, okay. All right, love you. My mom came to support me. Okay, yeah. So we can go deeper in the spiritual system at a later date. I'm just giving y'all an overview of World One Squad, Cockacoeske, Powhatan's spirituality from the Powhatan chiefdom. And so this talks about Ahoni, which is the great spirit, the great hair. They offered tobacco, blood of the animals, which is just of the animals, basically, deer soot and other items. Oki is the evil, the what you would liken to the Christian devil. So just about every spiritual system has, like I said, good spirits and evil spirits. Right, and they do have the creation story here. And I kind of just broke it down to y'all in layman's terms. They talk about female divinity comes in the connection with the Wombman, their version of Ahoni, the great hair. They see her as a feminine great spirit. So it's just different aspects of what was the Powhatan chiefdom. There's branches of it, so they view it basically the same. So I don't want to get long-winded, but I will show the slideshow again. And if nobody has any questions or comments, we can close out. I had estimated an hour. It's almost to the hour mark. And yeah, they wore tattoos and face paint, and even in that picture, that rendition of her, she has tattoos, and she even has these marks um, on her face. And it just shows you how you can tap into your ancestors. I tapped into this. It was years ago. I had did ceremony, and I did some markings, and I did these same markings, and I hadn't even seen this rendition of her. So there is such a thing as tapping in with your ancestors spiritually, even though they're not here in the physical. You can tap in spiritually and pay your respects. Learn your people's culture, their language, your creation story, the spirituality, the customs. If you can enroll and go to ceremony, if you can't do that, at least go to the public powwows and chop it up with your people and do your genealogy. I've done mine. Like I said, I'm still doing some, but this was one that was easy for me because it was right there. I didn't have to look hard for this one. Let me see. So I'm just giving y'all an overview for whoever tunes in later. Y'all can read and look at the key points that I touched on today. Cuz, you got any comments or questions?
No, you basically covered everything, cuz.
Yeah, let me look at my other notes before we head on out. Yeah, I went over that. And at a later date, around Mother's Day, I'll do a part 2 to this, um, to honor matriarchs and beloved warrior women and women chiefs around Mother's Day. Yeah, so that'll be what, next month. So either leading up to that, y'all just stay tuned. We'll share what date that will be. Yep.
And next week we'll have Wale Origin on.
Oh, okay. I thought that Wild Fox was coming.
That's on the 6th. I thought that was on the 6th
Okay. Okay.
that he was
All right.
coming.
All right. Yeah. Next week we'll have nephew Wale Origins on. So make sure y'all come back and tune in.
And then after that, Wild Fox.
Okay. 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 I remembered that because nephew was on last week.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then it was your week, and then he said he was coming back after you do this. So Wild Fox will be on that Sunday, right when we getting ready to go to well, when I be getting ready to go to Green Corn. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Make sure y'all check out the Yvmvse Travel Seminoles Green Corn. Y'all can go to the public powwow. They got flyers.
hmm And don't come with no foolishness.
Yeah,
You know
exactly,
that now.
exactly,
You've been you've been forewarned. You've been forewarned.
exactly. All right, y'all. Well, we out. Uh, right on time. An hour and 2 minutes. I gotta handle some business, so I cut it.
All right, thank you for tuning in, everybody. As always, you know what I'm saying? Thank y'all so much. And yeah, we appreciate it. And don't
Yeah,
forget, we
yes,
don't forget we got merch.
exactly. We got merch, y'all. Y'all want to support, that's how y'all support. Y'all want to like, share, subscribe, that's cool. Um, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. So y'all tune in, like we said, next Sunday for Nephew Wale Origins. Then the following one, Wild Fox will be on, and then I'll do a part 2 sometime around Mother's Day in May, just the month of May, sometime in May. So y'all stay tuned for that date, and we'll dive into part 2, honoring the matriarchs. All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.